In this lesson, I'm going to take 4 famous bass lines, I'm going to play them for you, analyze and deconstruct them, and then create something based on it. This lesson is all about you listening to some bass lines that you like, being able to analyze what key, what scales, what technique, what style of music, and then take that and use it to make something up. That's going to take your bass playing to the next level. Right, so let's go into the first bass line. We're going to do Cosmic Slop by Funkadelic, otherwise known as P-Funk or Parliament later on. And it's this really cool bass line. Let me play it for you. Now, that's not actually too difficult a bass line if you were to play that song. Preferably you want to learn this without any tab or any help from the internet. This is something to really work on your ears first and foremost. So do pick simple enough things. So we come out with that. Now, I want to know what key this is in. So how do you do that? Now, the first note is A, and then we go to F sharp. Now we seem to be returning to this F sharp as home. That's what it sounds like. That's the first thing. You want to find the note that sounds like it's the home, and that generally is the key. Are we in a major or a minor key? One way of thinking about it is major is bright and happy, minor is, sad and rocky, or used a lot in funk. So you can kind of go that way. The other thing is that in this lesson, you'll be confronted with things that you absolutely need to know 100% as a bass player. This is one of them. It's scales. And for this one, it's a minor scale. Now, you may know this already, you probably do. If you don't, you have to. It's a natural minor scale. So on F sharp, that's the scale, that's the key. Okay, that's the natural minor scale. And it makes learning bass lines and figuring them out by ear so easy because they very often conform to a scale or a pattern and a pattern. So listen to this. Even without too much thought, I can see that all of those notes are within that pattern, okay? So I can't stress that enough. Know your pattern, preferably a 1 octave like this. You can, of course, play open strings for the scale and for the bass line. Do what you feel comfortable with. I like to know a closed position like this because you can just move it around anywhere. Okay, so we're in the key of F sharp minor. Okay, so you learn the bass line, you figure out what key you're in, and all we're doing here is a really cool bass groove that uses notes from that key. And it's like a riff or a groove. I mean, in rock players tend to say this is a rock riff, and funk players tend to say this is a funk groove. But it's the same thing, it's a repeating pattern. The guitars do it as well. So watch me bumble my way through and try to make something up now. So this is the sort of thing I would do now. I'll take the information and do something with it. So now you have to imagine a cool drum beat going on and some other instruments. This is something you could take to your band rehearsal and say, look, I've got this cool riff, and other instruments can join in. I just did A, E to that root, that F sharp. What about just that? I'm just using the notes from the scale. And they're D, C sharp, the 6th and the 5th notes respectively of that scale. After a while, what will happen is that the notes from the scale will be embedded in your mind, and you will know the sound of them, and you'll be able to just go to the note that your brain wants you to play, okay? And this, when you get the connection between the pattern, the scale, the shape, and your instrument, everything sort of becomes much easier, okay? So that is the first one. Let's move on to the second one. So this one is I Want You Back by the Jackson 5, played by the great Wilton Felder. Let me play it first. Now, I'm sure Wilton Felder probably played it a different way to me. One reason I play it all closed is because I did a gig once And just last minute, the band had just met. It was for an artist, big artist at the Jazz Cafe, and he wanted to play this tune very last minute in a different key. So if I do it like this, and they suddenly say, play upper tone, you just go up 2 frets. And you can just play exactly the same patterns. That's one of the reasons that bass is such a cool instrument to play, patterns. So anyway, now we're thinking what key are we in? So it's not always the case that the first note tells you the key, but it often does. So what is the first note? A flat. Now, is this minor or major? It sounds very happy, very upbeat. So this is what I used to do when I couldn't hear the key immediately. Was, okay, look, A flat. Now, is it A flat minor? And you see that the notes don't fit, and you hear that they don't fit, so you rule it out. It's not A flat minor. Is it A flat major? This is another one of those non-negotiables you have to know, a major scale. And indeed, that bass line fits exactly to this. We don't just have minor and major keys. You can have keys in modes, and you can, stuff that's based around modes and harmonic minors and things like that. For this lesson, I'm keeping it fairly simple, and actually a lot of songs that you want to learn will just be the major or the minor key. So that fits completely. So I've played that, I've figured it out, I've worked out the bass line, we're in the major key, and I just want to analyze this. What is Wilton Felder doing? Well, we're going to different chords within the key. Now, I've got a course, by the way, that goes into this specific pattern a lot more. So if you want to know about that and all these other fundamentals, I'll put a link below. But this is a great pattern to learn. We've got the first 6 notes of the major scale, and a bass player generally plays the roots. So this is a 6, 3, 4, 1, 2, 5, 1. It's a chord progression or set of notes that from a chord, and we're just playing the root notes. So let's use that idea. I'll now make something up. Wilton Felder was doing a lot of chromatics, notes from outside the scale, here. That's the chromatic scale, you just go up fret by fret. So what if we do an idea like that? Now this is very Motown, it's very inspired by James Jamerson, Wilton Felder. So it doesn't now sound very much like Cosmic Slop, which was a very, it was a pattern-based thing. We weren't changing the notes very much. Here, in this style, I want to, this lesson is about analysing what did that player do, Wilton Felder? Well, improvised a little bit using different approach notes to different chords. So that's what I'm doing. And so, yeah, I've got that pattern locked down, okay? And I can just randomly go to a root note of a chord. Got a groove going. There's the 6, but what about approaching it in a better way or a different way? I'll approach it from 2 frets lower. Do the same to the 2, but going down instead of up, so that was up, and this is down. As you can tell, this is a very real-time thing I'm doing here. I'm explaining the kind of thing I would do. And once again, this is to learn a bass line, but it's to learn from a bass line so that you can just move your skills forward. And this is, Wilton Felder came up with this bass line because he played immediately what he thought sounded good. That's an A-flat major pentatonic scale. It's not what Wilton Felder did, but it's very good for fills. Okay, so you can start to improvise if you know what to do. Let's move to a different style now. We're going to Know Your Enemy by Rage Against the Machine, and this is very much a sort of hip-hop, rap, rock, heavy, distorted guitar thing. So there are parallels here with Cosmic Slop, which anyway, Funkadelic, they were quite punky and quite rocky with their style of funk, and Rage Against the Machine incorporate quite a few different styles as well, but you have riffs here, and you have 3 riffs in one. Let me play the riffs first, and then I'll dig into what we're doing here. So riff 1. Very easy, F sharp to E. Then a little power chord, E and B played together at the same time with pops. Okay, frets 2 and 5 of the D and the E strings. That's riff 1. Then it goes... That's riff 2. Riff 3 goes... I love this one. The beats are here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 3 riffs. We need to work out the key. It's F sharp. We're coming back to F sharp a lot, so I'm going to go with that. Major or minor? Okay, we can rule that out. It's definitely not major. Okay, it's minor, you can hear. Here's another non-negotiable. We talked about the natural minor for minor keys, the major for major keys, and then you have this. You have an F sharp major pentatonic. Again, I'm sure this is something you know, but just in case you don't, here's the shape of a pentatonic, minor pentatonic. And that's a flat 5, which turns it into a blues scale. If you listen to that album and figure out the riffs as I did as a 13-year-old many years ago, you then, I don't think I knew about pentatonics or blues scales, but very shortly after that I figured out that nearly every riff is the same in that. And it really does activate a light bulb in your brain when you can just go, oh, that scale that I was learning, it's in everything. That's the connection that we're looking to get with this. Let me go to the 3rd riff. I really like that one. F sharps, high to low. F sharp is a really good key, by the way, because you've got the E. Let's do more of that when I make something up. I love that sound, and it's that C, which is the flat 5. Little chromatic movement up to the high F sharp again, the higher F sharp. Lots of syncopation. So in my analysis portion of this, I'm saying to myself, right, we're using a lot of blues, F sharp minor blues. We're using a lot of syncopation, and there's a riff, so a repeating pattern. So I'm learning from that, and then I quickly want to know if I can make something up. So let's do that. Okay, there's my riff. I'm going E to the F sharp. I like that sound. I'm doing a lot of that B to C because it's that C that's characterizing this as a blues scale. By the way, if I just do this, if I play a bluesy thing, I'm using that same flat 5 as a passing note, so I'm not staying on it much. And it sounds bluesy. But in a rock setting, if I focus on that note, it sounds a bit evil. You know, it sounds rocky. You're not going to hear that in a nursery rhyme. It's too dark, right? So this is the kind of thinking that occurs when you do this sort of thing. That's why this video is all about taking you to the next level, because it's just thinking a bit more about what is happening within these bass lines, being analytical and then figuring out something else. Let's do one more riff on that. You know, I'm making this up on the spot. You can refine it, but hopefully you can do something like this. I'm not thinking too much about it. That's my speed. I'm starting somewhere in the middle of the scale. I'm creating a rhythm. I'm thinking, I know the notes, but the rhythm is incredibly important. Never forget that. So you match a rhythm to some notes and you've got a bass line immediately. Let's finish with another dark one, a metal one this time, Enter Sandman by Metallica. The bass line doesn't actually do this, but the guitar riff goes... There's our home note again, E. It's not going to be major. G sharp is major, it's not that, it's this G. Now if you know your scales really well, let me reiterate the point, make sure you absolutely know your major and your minor. The first three notes of an E minor scale goes E, F sharp, G. And those are the notes of the riff at the end there. So you instantly know we're in the key of E minor. Now that note there, a B flat. This is the process I would use again. There's a minor pentatonic. There's a blues scale, add the flat 5 in, that's a blues scale. All of these scales are in my course, so if you are a bit unsure of this, check it out, you'll learn all this. And there it is again, that evil B flat note. So now, I'll go with that tempo. It's going to be very similar to the other riff, actually. Let's go with that. 8th notes this time, which the bass does actually in the original bass line. If I hang around on that B flat, it just gives you more of that darkness. What about just that? It doesn't matter if you don't like metal, it doesn't matter if you're into jazz, gospel, country music, blues. This principle works with any style of bass playing. Listen to a bass line or a section of a song and do listen to it. Don't get any tab. Figure it out, and then does it conform to major or minor? That's your first thing to look for. If it doesn't, it's probably a mode or a weird scale or a harmonic minor or something like that. But stay easy for now. Keep slow bass lines that you're happy and comfortable with, and then figure it out, work it out, and then learn from it. Learn from the player. Learn from the technique, the style, the tone of the instrument, everything. That you can really push yourself forward by doing all of those things. Thanks very much for watching that one. If you have any time and you want to learn more about music theory, then check out this video.